What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, here with my Collectibles FA on the channel. Welcome all the way from Canada.
Thanks, man. How's it going? Thanks for inviting me on.
All
Thanks.
good.
I
I've been
appreciate it.
wanting
It's
we
much too long, we talked we hung out about in Decon a bit. So this is way too long that we haven't been on each other's. We've been in live streams together though on other people's
yeah,
channels, right? So
yeah, on Randy's channel, we were
yeah.
together. Yeah, linking up in Decon made me really want to get you on and pick your brain and talk to you about the whole collectible side of things. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you bet, man. Of course. It's good times, good fun. It's exciting right now. Veve's crazy.
Yeah, it's been very
Yeah.
it's been very active over the last week with the Lambo drop, and
Yep.
David's had more of a presence with the AMA, so there's been a lot to kind of like talk about.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's especially that AMAs that or those interviews that David had a couple. I saw you did live stream like I was telling you just off
Mhm.
screen here with Hello K. That was a really good live. You guys dove deep into some of those issues and it's good because these are the things that people want to talk about. But the crazy thing is I was saying earlier it's so much activity right now in the community, right? Like people are doing all sorts of stuff. People are digging into wallets. People are, all over like, the press release stuff. I mean, the thing about it is that I always take away from that is like when the community is super active, that's really a good thing. That's like healthy for the app. I mean, if no one's talking, we've gone through times where it's been like there's nothing going on, right? And you're kind of just
Mhm.
like, what do we, but there's so much to talk about because people are so active right now on the Twitter spaces, live streams. There's a lot more content creators making stuff. And it just shows that the community is healthy and engaged, right? And whether it's like, positive or negative or like diving deep into things or talking about collectibles, it just means people are here, right? And I always think that's good, you know?
Yeah, 100%, because it just speaks to the passion that people have, and that Vivi is able to evoke in the community. They've been able to build, and there are so many different facets to the community. Like you said, you got people who just like analyze the comics, people are into the collectibles, people into Omi, people who like to dig deep into the metadata. You get all these voices and so many content creators. I don't know of any other project that has this many content creators, especially one that's this size.
Oh, I know. And it's only going to get bigger, I think, because there's an opportunity, right? Like, I mean, so when did you join now? When did you start making content? It's been a while now, man. You've been doing
Yeah.
it. I mean, for me, I had my 1 year anniversary yesterday of live
Oh,
streams, and I didn't even realize I was just doing my
congrats.
regular live stream. And a couple of the people in the chat are like, "Hey, man, it's 1 year ago you did your first live stream." I was like, "No way! I completely forgot." And I went back and looked, and I opened up my first live stream and just watched the first like few minutes of it. And oh, dude, I could barely even watch myself. But it's
You
been
had
a
a
while.
channel before Vivi?
Yeah, well, I always had this YouTube channel. Like, what I did with my channel was I used to game, right? And I still do, but I used to do mobile gaming, and I used to do a game called Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's just a
Mhm.
mobile game, right? And so I played it for about 5 or 6 years. And so I, in Discord with my other people who I play with and stuff, and we would all like, coordinate and things like that. And so I would just upload, game footage like battles that I would do in this app, like, for people to watch, like how I beat this level or whatever, that kind of stuff. Right. And then I uploaded some like other stuff from Xbox, game footage and stuff. It was mostly kind of just gaming. I started it off, to do collectibles with my collectible business, but I didn't really, feel comfortable going on camera and talking about toys and stuff like that back in the day. So I just started doing it for that reason. And I just had the channel. And then after I found Vivi, or Vivi found me or whatever, that whole thing, then I was watching like people make videos, right? And it was pretty cool. I decided I'm gonna do a video. I have a YouTube channel. I can throw a vid out. So my first video was about the Spider-Man FA, which is in the news a ton now, right? Which is
Yeah.
crazy. But that was my first video, that I ever did. And so just because I wanted to talk about it, I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like no one around me in my town is into Vivi that I know of at the time. I've met a few people actually now who are locally around, but at the time I had no one to talk to, and I'd been in the app for 3 or 4 weeks. and I was excited, you know, and I wanted to talk about it. So I thought I'd throw a video. I was super embarrassed about it too. And, you know, I got kids and they're like, they're young teenagers, right? Like, what would they think? Right. And, they thought it was kind of fun. And I found out that cause I also coach like in basketball, and I'm pretty involved in that, you know. And so I found out that like, you know, some my friends, my kids' friends, and somebody subscribed to me a bit, and I was just like, no, because I'm just like the dad, right? I'm like a coach, but it's kind of funny, but people, you know, it's just been fun, right, the whole time, right? So I think if people, I'm loving to see more people like get channels now, especially people that have been watching like our live streams and stuff, you know, that are in our chats and our community. They're making videos and bringing their voice out, and the more voices the better. So
Yeah, it's amazing to see just
yeah.
like the crossover and everyone just working together, jumping on live streams together, and then meeting up at these AMAs, right? Where not AMAs, at like these events, the decon event.
Yeah.
That stuff is really amazing.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, I just want to talk to people like yourself that
Yeah,
talk about this stuff all the time. I'm in the Twitter spaces all the time, listening and coming up and chatting a bit, and you know, joining live streams from time to time. I haven't really been on too many channels. You know, I haven't really done this kind of thing that often, just because of timing and stuff like that. Mostly, I've been in the Twitter spaces lately, where just been hanging out, listening to people give their opinions and stuff, and all the different ones too, right? Like not just the Veve ones, but
creep up into the FUD space.
oh, yeah, I've gone in there a couple times because it's good to hear, right? Like it's good to hear what people have to say, and I don't hang out in there a lot, like because there's been a few, and I've actually when I've gone in there, I've been invited up, but
Yeah, me too.
the space has been like I haven't gone up to speak, not because I didn't want to, because I have no problem going up there and chatting, but it was at midnight, you know, like my whole house is asleep. I can't really, you know, get a, hey, you know, like I have to be quiet at night. So I wouldn't, if it was like a during the day type space, maybe I would join, but I also don't really like, you know, I don't really like battling, you know, defending, and that kind of thing, going to war for stuff anymore. I'm kind of too old for that. I kind of just put my opinion out there and let people think what they think
Yeah,
instead of arguing, you know, like legitimately going in and arguing.
yeah.
It's not my style.
Yeah, I enjoy like a good constructive conversation, you know, but you know,
Yeah.
nothing that's like heated. Like one time I was in the space and they were having a good you know discussion and they invited me up, but it was late, like you said, so I didn't jump on. But another
Yeah.
time there was like a lot of cursing and screaming going on, and that sort of thing puts me off. I'd rather just have a good constructive conversation.
Well, it's entertaining though. I
Yeah.
mean, when
Yeah.
you're like a listener and there's like, there's one that has like 200 people in there. And yeah, because it's entertaining. It's like when you, it's just, you know, that my favorite, like if you follow a lot of like sports, you know, channels and YouTubers and all that kind of stuff, and those shows where they argue about topics. I mean, that's when they get their best views, when they're going at it. As
Yeah.
long as, like you said, it's respectful. They don't take it over the line. But like, you know, you get the best views when you have like, you know, difference of opinions and you're both able to like give good points. And I think that's what the community needs. You know, they need people like me, who I have this reputation of being a moon boy, or all super positive and stuff. And they need people to like, for me to go up against and say, no, I think this is this, and they think that is that. But like I said, it's as long as the community is still going and we're still talking every day and we're still doing lives and there's more creators coming out and there's more Twitter spaces happening and there's more news, then we're good. Like we're totally good. I always said once people stop talking, then it's dead. You know, you've seen this in other projects on the NFT space,
100%.
right? Their Discord servers dry up. You know, the content's not there. Like, the people aren't interested anymore. They move on to something else. So as long as the passion's here, then I think we're good, and I think we're actually more than ever in the last while, right? So
Yeah.
it's good for me to see that.
And how did you get into Veve? What's your like origin story there?
Yeah, I've told it a couple times, but it's always interesting. Like, and I want to ask you too, because we never had a chance to talk about this either, right? Because I want to hear yours. But mine started out like a friend of mine who's into crypto quite a bit, who I worked with as in a graphic design company. He's a local guy, and he was into crypto and he's getting into it. And he mentioned to me comic books on Veve, and he knew that I was into comics and stuff because I had my toy store, my comic store. And so he said, he actually just asked a little question just because we were in a Discord together, he was like, showing me some stuff about crypto. And this is early, this is like summer 2021. And so I'd already been looking at NBA Top Shot. That was the first thing I got into, because another friend of mine who works at this this company that does all this work for the NBA, all these guys in there, these young dudes were all over NBA Top Shot, right? And they were like, and I was like, I found out about it. And so I went and, got an account and like started getting those little moments and things. But I wasn't really too hooked on it, even though I'm a big basketball fan. So it was a little bit later in the summer that my friend, he was, we were chatting about, I told him about Top Shot, and he said, "Oh, are you into crypto?" And I'm like, "No, not at all." And, but another customer at my store had come in a year before that, in like 2020, massive Star Wars fan, this guy, with his car deckled out, like with the Death Star on it. Like, this guy's a crazy fan. And we became good friends and stuff, through my shop, and, just with physical toy collecting and all that. And he was getting into crypto around 2020 or so, and he was trying to get me into it. And I remember he was telling me, sorry, I'm backtracking a bit before I get to Veve, right? But he was telling me like, "Oh, like, you should check this out." And so I looked into crypto around 2020, and I was like checking it out, but I'm up in Canada. And so it was difficult. Like, I didn't know how to get money from my bank account or a credit card into like a crypto exchange where I could buy, coins and stuff, or buy any kind of like Ethereum or Bitcoin or anything like that. And I was trying to figure it out, and it was very difficult for me with my limited time at the time, because I was running like a store and a graphic design business. So I was sitting there at my desk, like spending some time looking into it. And I just kind of like, I don't think I can get into it. And then I was in a Discord with him and another guy, and this other guy was a real douche. He was like, real crypto, like, yeah, and I just was like, I don't even know this guy. I just, it turned me off. So I just kind of like turned crypto off. And then you jump ahead to the Top Shots. And then my friend told me about the comic books. So then when he said the comic books, then I just kind of like just looked up Veve, the app, and they had already come out like a month before. I missed them, right? In August. And so then I signed up in October, like mid-October, and spent like a week or so looking at it. I went for the first comic I went for was that Web of Spider-Man, the Ben Reilly comic that it came out at that time. And I got one on the drop, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then that was just as things were really heating up for the app. And then the gold moments came like a couple of weeks later. And I did a video about Spider-Man's FA, because when I saw him in the app, the Spider-Man collectible, and I was like, that is something. I started to kind of click as a collector. I went, that's the first one. And then I was really watching like tons of YouTube videos on crypto, like all the main players at the time, that are still making those vids today, like all the big channels, right? I started to watch them and learn about like, basically what crypto was. And I got like a MetaMask wallet, and I started to get into it, right? That was all around October, November. So it was a huge like growth for me in the space in November and then into December. And then once December hit, I was pretty much locked into Veve big time.
And what about the OMI side? We got a question here. Do you have any OMI?
Yeah, I do. And I give it away on my channel as a part of my NFT rewards, because I learned how to get OMI. It was difficult up here too, as well, because you know how hard OMI is to get if you don't know, right? I mean, it can be scary, right? So I self-taught once I didn't know anything about OMI for the first like at least 6 months or so. I heard about it. That didn't get me into Veve, right? Like some people went that route. I didn't go that route. I learned about it later, and then I was like, okay, I want to get some. And so I figured out how to do it, like how I can do it. There's lots of ways, but how I could do it up here using the website that the Newton, it's called Newton. It's an exchange, right? I can get my stuff there. Then I can send it over to Binance or whatever. If that's where it is, right? It's on Binance, or is it
Forex?
It's Forex. Yeah. Sorry. It's Binance is in my
Binance.
head.
Hopefully Binance soon.
I know, right? I know. So yeah, it's over there. So then you transfer over, and then I was able to get some. And then when I made my NFT back in, like, I wanted to figure out how to do that. And so then a few months after I did my NFT project, I decided to reward OMI to holders, right? Like weekly. So then that was literally to show people how to get OMI. Because I don't know about you, but like I was self-taught on even trying to like get OMI. There wasn't a lot out there, and it's even with like just getting a MetaMask wallet. Like I know most of us are really experienced now, but if you back up a bit and remember when you're not, it's scary, right? Like you don't, like if you send something somewhere to the address, is it going to disappear? And then like it's all this kind of stuff. So I do have Omi. I don't have like millions and millions of Omi, but I have a good amount. And then I give around 9,000 or 10,000 away a week on my channel, just to
Yeah.
get people into it, right? So, and
Yeah.
maybe one day it'll be worth $1 a piece, hey? Then I'll regret giving I think I've given away like 600,000 Omi almost.
Wow.
And
You might regret
so
that one day.
if it hits $1, no, I doubt it'll ever hit $1, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I found the project through the Omi token. I was looking for a token, a crypto that was associated with NFTs, wrapping my mind around NFTs and such like a big
yeah.
field and there's like so much to learn and you don't know what's what. So Omi made sense to me with the VV narrative of like, all the licenses and Elcon and all that. So that's how I found VV. I didn't really start. So I had my eyes on the golden moments. Those were going to be the first ones that I went for on drop.
Yeah.
I ended up going to Nashville, Tennessee and drinking for 4 days straight.
Nice.
It was like a bunch of guys like totally forgot about the drops.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Yeah. Then
Nashville's a party town, isn't it? Right?
Oh, yeah. Big party town,
yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee. When I got back from Nashville, that's when I started, getting into the collectibles side of things. But do you think that, there's been talk about people frustrated that the team kind of has neglected the Omi token in favor of VV. And Kay and I were talking last week about how powerful the Omi token is and how it can be a conduit to the VV collectibles, right?
Yeah.
If you target the crypto people, you'll bring them in. So even something like Omi on an exchange or just promoting the token a bit might bring people into VV. What are your thoughts on, their marketing approach or how they should approach it?
Yeah, no, I think that that's probably the right play at the time right now because, if you want to get people I can judge by your shelf back there that you're a collector, right?
Mhm.
And what people like us in the physical space aren't that interested in digital stuff right now. It's just is the reality of it, right? And that's just going to take time, just as the world changes and starts to go more that way, which I totally see. That's what's happening. You can just see it. The writing's on the wall with collecting and digital collecting and NFTs being like that part of collecting, right? And just as it transitions, as people are more online using their devices and all that kind of stuff, and specifically younger people as well, how they're going to interact with all this stuff, and then and how they interact with movies and media and social media, and how their PFPs are huge parts of their lives, and how they can just take things, it's all that stuff, right? And then and how some of these other platforms, like eBay. We were talking about this the last couple of days too, because you saw that, video with Kyle and Paul Barron was great. Yeah. And I made a little video about it too, about how eBay is getting into NFTs, and that's a conduit to collectors, because what collectors in the physical space they need to be comfortable, and they need to feel like it's safe, and they need to feel something like it's easy, and it's not like going so far off of what they're doing. And also it still gives them a chance to actually enjoy their stuff, like behind us here. They're So right now, that is probably, I've said that for a while, that, those people aren't interested in collectible, in like NFTs. Like they're not, they don't care about blockchain technology. They don't care about interoperability. They don't give a shit about any of that stuff, because it's too foreign, right? So the only way to really grow the platform right now is to do the marketing and go after the crypto people that are kind of familiar with this and get them. And I know I was watching your video. I saw your video too. And I know Hello K made a really great point about, it's taken those people and turn them into collectors. I know how he was saying that. It was a brilliant point because that's one thing that Vivi's done really well. I remember he was saying that, right? So, and they have done that. I mean, we can see all the people who now go to comic shops who are in Vivi who never owned a comic once in their life. And when I give comics away on the channel, a lot of the people that get one, it's their first comic they've ever owned, like physically in their life. And that's cool, right? So, that's the way to grow it in the short term, right? But what Vivi, I think, is doing is they're building like that base right here to make it so like it's easy for these collectors to show up as time goes on. And I really like the whole notion of this eBay thing with them getting into NFTs, and then David, you talking about not wanting the stuff to be interoperable and all over the place in the early days, and like we can believe what he says or not, but what he was saying about not wanting everything to be all out because, people who are getting the people he wants to attract don't know, they don't know about that stuff. They don't feel comfortable with that. And he also doesn't want his stuff everywhere. So when he says that in those recent interviews about how they're looking for like marketplaces, to kind of like partner with over time that like, that are more suited for what he wants with this app. And then the rebranding of the collector thing, you can see that like a platform like eBay, like that's interesting, right? Like, is there a connection there over time? Like not tomorrow, but in the future, because that is a space that has millions of people who buy and sell physical toys and collectibles all day long. If you then transition in and give them the digital option as well, and you do it in a way where you can like have like some of our stuff over there. That's the dream for me. Like for me, I've been on eBay for 10, 15 years, right? Somewhere in there, buying and selling. So if they're, that's kind of the connecting thing for the physical collectors, trying to convince them of that, like, NFTs are cool, is tough, right? So I think, the marketing with the Lambo, all those press releases that came out, all synchronized at like 9 a.m. that day, like they all just flooded out everywhere. And I was looking at a lot of those articles, and I didn't see like, I didn't see those articles going out to, like the comic book collecting community or something, right? You know what I mean? Like they look like they're mostly like crypto type stuff, right? So and I don't know if that's going to result in new users yet either, right? But I think that's the good tester approach. And I think they also said, this marketing is going to be like, you're not going to see it on every drop, right? I think the Lambo was a real tester for them. They had all these press releases. You could see the different ones if you read the articles, that like different quotes were in each one. Like Dan was quoted in one. David was quoted in another. Like it's like they strategically sent these ones here and there, and some of them were duplicates, of course. But you could see that they really wanted it for Lambo, because I think they think Lambo is like an NFT thing, right? Like we all kind of know that,
it's
right?
The meme, right? Yeah, one Lambo. Yeah.
So it was a smart idea. We'll see how it develops. But yeah, I mean, I've always said, going after like physical collectors, is kind of you have to build it. It's like that the Field of Dreams thing. You build it and they'll come over time, just as the world slowly moves that direction, which is happening more and more every day, right? That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point about eBay and getting access. I think they have like 400 million people who use eBay, right? So now, if they develop a platform, then you got like Amazon developing a platform.
Yeah.
This is your access to like mainstream adoption, and people, I think, would feel more trusting of those brands. In terms of, do you still interact with a lot of physical collectors?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, actually, my Instagram account is mostly physical collectors. I've been posting a lot of Veve stuff there, and I haven't really lost a ton of followers, but haven't had the same interactions, because I used Instagram before I got into Veve. When I owned my store, I used Instagram to buy and sell and trade and promote my store, right? And that's how all the people I follow over there are like, comic shops and vintage toy collectors and all sorts of stuff. So I've been posting like, Veve stuff over there, right? Just to see what happens. I don't use it as much as now, because now I'm on Twitter all the time, because Twitter for me is like all NFTs. I didn't use Twitter that much before Veve. And actually, I didn't use Twitter that much before about 8 or 9 months ago. I have my Twitter account since like 2010 or something. Like I've had Twitter forever, but I didn't really use it that much at all. But then because of Veve and NFTs and everything and crypto, I've like, that's my whole Twitter feed. But my Instagram is different. And so I have, when I do post stuff, I'm trying to like, I don't post all the time, but I'm trying to interact with those people who were following me before when I was selling vintage toys and stuff and comics, so I'm trying to see, and I'm getting decent interactions, but I get a lot of Veve followers there now too, which is really great. But so I'm trying to like, but I hit my local comic shops. There's 2 in town, hit them all the time. And on Facebook, actually, I'm still involved quite heavily with collector groups, like physical collector groups. And I have buyers and sellers in town that I do business with, and I sell on eBay. And, mostly if, only, I don't sell like thousands of things on eBay anymore. I mostly only sell higher level items since I closed my shop. So
Yeah.
But it's kind of a combination. I'm kind of in all different places, right?
What's the sentiment amongst like the physical world about Veve? Do you see them warming up a little bit, or they just like don't get it, the majority of them?
Yeah, the people that I'm involved with, they're not fully like against it anymore. I don't hear people you couldn't even bring it up before, like a year ago. It was kind of like, yeah. But now I think it's kind of like they're aware of it. The people that I know, or at least are aware that it's happening, and not just with VV too, like in just digitally, just digital stuff. To even just the comics that you can get, like through subscription on Marvel, right? Like just to read them. Like
Right.
there's all like people are starting to see this. It just I think people that are coming into their stores, are starting to like, it's just the world is just going that way. I mean, I know
Yeah.
these people who run these shops, I like there's two comic book shops in town here. I know the owners very well because we were in competition with each other, but we were never like at each other's throats. But we were in competition, right?
Yeah.
For customers, but we would always send people our way, right? And so when I go in there and they say, "Well, what are you doing now?" And I don't go crazy, right? I don't. That's the thing. I don't go crazy into VV talk, but I go to my comic shop and I say, "I'm looking for the facsimiles of these recent comics because they just dropped them digitally on that NFT app." And they're like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I'm like, "Yeah, as soon as they drop the facsimile here, it drops over on DC's platform. Isn't that crazy?" And I'm like, "It's cool. I'm collecting both." And they're like, "Oh, yeah." And I can see them kind of like, but yeah, it's going to take a while. And in fact, it's not even those people that I think Vivi needs to go after. People like me, like 40-year-olds who like grew up collecting, comics and toys. Like I'm not for certain that I'm their target. I think it's the 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are growing up in this realm, in this age.
Yeah.
That's who you want to get in with these collectibles and make them interactive. And then they'll go to the comic shop. And if you're a comic book store owner or a toy store owner, you'd be smart to embrace this technology and like, because it's building customers for you, right? Like I want to get both comics, And I
Right.
know a lot of people in the app want to as well. So if somebody's like owns a shop, if I still have my shop, like I closed in halfway through 2021, I would have a VV wall or something, like I would have a section, especially when transfers were around. I'd be able to sell a comic and then, like with fiat and then like transfer it to them, right? Of course, that's gone now, but we'll see where it goes.
That's a good point, right? It's not something to be threatened by. It's something that you could leverage. Because now, how many people have we seen in the community who weren't collectors at all, and now they're collecting the physicals
I know.
of the VV drops? So that's
Yeah.
a really good point as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. It's
As a
fun. It's super fun. Have you gone into a comic shop and seen a VV comic in there? It's
no,
fun. Like you go
yeah,
into a comic shop, you like look through, there's a VV comic, you're like, oh, there's one. Even if it's like not worth a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I got a bunch on my wall back here. I got like this comic, Secret Wars 3, right? Like,
yeah.
it's not worth a ton, but I saw it at my comic shop and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick it up because it's in VV and it's kind of fun. Now I have both. I don't know. It's just kind of fun.
Were
Yeah.
you a big comic collector pre VV?
I was at certain points. So, in the early 90s, I was. And then I was also into sports cards, huge at that point, into the early 90s, but they overmassed sports cards. So I stopped collecting them, right?
Yeah,
And then in the early 2000s, I started to collect toys, like more modern toys. And the later 2000s, I went hardcore into vintage toys. And then in the last couple of years, I've gone back into comics again. I've always had like a good collection of comics, but now I'm like literally going back to the comic stores. It's literally because of VV2 for me. It's made me want to go and pick up those key issues, specifically with the MCU and all their movie releases and, these Kang comics and stuff. Like it
yeah.
makes me want to go there, but it's because I'm looking at comics every day on the VV app. It gets me kind of excited. I go down to the shop. I'm having a ton of fun the last like 6 months in particularly, just going through the long boxes at those, comic shops and picking out nice comics. It's been really fun for me. And I've actually gone further away from the toy collecting because it just takes up so much space. Like, like these types of guys,
Yeah.
like I was heavy into 1/6 scale sideshow Hot Toys figures for like a long time. And I still have a bunch of them. But the vintage toys from the 70s and 80s, that's where I was just honed in on those, specifically Star Wars. And I've sold a ton over the last year. And I'm selling a few to get more digital you know, collectibles like the DC stuff and Veve stuff, of course, and whatever else comes along, right?
Yeah.
And my closet is a lot less full.
I know that's the thing with the physicals is that, you know, I have all this stuff behind me and I'd like to, you know, I buy them just to display them. Then I
Yeah.
find myself having to like rotate them out in order to accommodate my new stuff.
Yeah, it's like that's what I always do too. I always like keep some shelves and then I'll like rotate through just to keep looking at new things. I have more shelves over here, you know, like if you look over here, I got like more shelves over there with all a bunch of stuff in them, and I got shelves over there. It's not a really big office, but some of this stuff is like this Lego display. There's like 50 minifigures in there,
Oh,
but
nice.
I have a bunch of those. Those are from my store because I had a whole wall of minifigures, like 300 unique minifigures at a time in my shop. And so I would do Lego minifigure hunting, you know, and buy all the boxes and the sets and break them out and get the special chase figures. And I became a pretty good resource for minifigure collectors like Lego. So I collect all sorts of stuff like Lego and other stuff too. I never talk about on my channel, right? But there was somebody who wanted to do a Twitter space on just Lego collecting. And I'm like, yeah, man, let me know. So maybe look for that. That might come up on Twitter at some point because I'm a big fan of Lego as well, like the minifigures specifically.
Yeah, my son loves those.
Yeah, they're fun.
Now you have a background in graphic design, correct?
Yeah, that's my main job. That's my actual job. I went to school for and everything.
So what do you think of the new heart that they came out with? I mean, when I first saw it, I wasn't, you know, it's grown on me, put it that way.
Well, what I like about what they're doing is they actually just have a brand now. They actually have like a tagline and a focus and a brand platform. You know, see, it's not, to me, it's not really about the logo, the artwork, or the colors even, or anything like that. It's about having like that strategic approach, which Veve never really had before, you know? So, you know, if you're a company and you want to like go after customers, or you want to market yourself in any way, like either it's social, online, whatever, you know, in print or whatever, you have to have like a brand platform to base your whole thing, your communication on, right? And so the whole time we've been in Veve, we've had that logo that they made, and we found out it looks like they made it in the kitchen or something like that. It's kind of fun, right? And it was fine. People get attached to it, you know, and people love it because, you know, they've been with it. They've seen it the whole time. They get attached. And so now they go in and in the background, we don't know what's going on. And they start working on this whole brand platform. And that's what I like to call it, right? So I've done a lot of these for businesses. Like I've actually done these types of projects for a lot. I did a logo for a whole town before, and that was major, right? So, you know, that's my actual profession, right, is graphic design. So, and I don't talk about it on the channel a lot because it doesn't really apply. But when they did the branding, I got a chance to talk about it for like 2 days, and it was super fun for me because it's Veve and my actual real job, right? So it's just the fact that they actually have put thought in, and they put out their, you know, whatever you think about, like the message, whatever people think about, like the heart or the, you know, the tagline or their colors and all that kind of stuff. It just tells me that they actually now have a plan. And if you don't have a marketing plan, if you don't have a brand, if you don't have any kind of like, you know, touch points for your communication, you know, then you really aren't going to go anywhere as a company. And people think, you know, oh, you can just go get a logo off Fiverr for $30 and that'll do it. No, like these big companies, they invest in their company, they invest in their communication and their branding, and it's supposed to work well. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be successful, right? Like it doesn't mean Veve is going to suddenly blow up because they have a heart. They have to follow through on their brand promise, which is collectors at heart. If you're going to put that out there, you have to now reward collectors. You have to now like build a collectors app for real with master collector program fully, you know, up and running, award people who hold long-term or whatever you want to do. You have to like fulfill that promise, the brand promise, and then you will attract actually people in that area. But I don't think we're ready for physical collectors to come flooding in here yet either. I think it's best to grab the crypto people, like Hello K was saying. I totally agree with that too. So I like the logo, like I like the way it looks, just personally, aesthetically. I think it's all right. You know, I like the colors. I think they're fine, and I think it's kind of like one of these things that, like you said, it just kind of like grows on you because the more they use it, and the more they use it in the right way, then you know, people will like it more, or at least they'll adopt it and feel comfortable. The only thing that they can avoid, and this is something they didn't really do, is when you do a rebrand, and sorry if I'm ranting on here, but when you do a rebrand for a company or anything like that, or an organization or whatever, it's smart to include the community in some of those steps along the way, not asking them like, to submit designs or anything like that, but just involving them in the process a bit, because then the brand launch isn't such a shock, because brand relaunches or redos or whatever like that, they always cause outrage amongst loyal brand customers. Like if you switch the logo or the brand on a loyal customer base that's been with you for a long time, there's usually outrage, because they don't understand, right? Because you never included them in the process. So I would have liked to see more communication along the way saying, hey, we're working on a new look. We're working on a new wording, a messaging. This is why we're doing it, not maybe telling us what they're doing, but like the fact that they're doing it, and we're doing it in the background while we're also working on the stuff. So don't worry, everybody. We're not diverting any kind of resources here. But it's important, they could have communicated better to the community, and then there wouldn't have been such kind of outcry in the first couple of days, right? But it's over and done with now, so it's the way they decided to do it. But that's just a smart way to. So if you're thinking of rebranding your business, anybody, make sure you involve your customers a little bit. Give them some forewarning, otherwise feel the wrath. Whether it's good or not, they'll hate it.
Yeah, it's true, because it's change, and people naturally, I think, are opposed to change.
Yeah.
Now,
just understanding it too, right? Just understanding like why do we need it? Why do we have a logo? Like, why do we need a new logo?
Yeah, what was wrong with the old one?
Yeah, exactly. And then you explain, well, it's not just the logo, it's the whole thing, the message, it's for the first time.
Yeah. So now, do you consider yourself obviously more of a collector, but like how much of your collection is an investment? Like, how do you weigh that, collecting and investing in the app?
I think, like for me, like I think of being a collector a little bit differently, maybe, because it's all an investment for me. Like the beauty of it is it's like investing in the stuff I love to hold on to and look at. Some of it I'll keep and I may never sell, like physical stuff, right? Some of it I just get because it's beautiful. But when I'm buying stuff, it's because I've ran collectible business, that it's always in the back of my head. Like, if I need to sell this one day, will I be able to? And, some stuff I'll buy just because I love it. Like, I don't care. Like, like I bought that little Lambo down there, like months and months, like way before Veve got Lambo. And I love that little Lambo. It was a secondhand thing I bought for like $2 at a toy fair. I was like, oh, Lambo. And it looked cool. So I got, I don't know why. This is way before Lambo, and stuff like my Boba Fett's back there, those are a love of mine, even though I know I can resell them. Right. So when I'm doing AF-15 collecting in Veve, I know I can resell that. I can sell it back, hopefully for a profit. That's the goal, and I'll sit on it for years. But if not, I'll love scrolling through and looking at them, because I don't usually just mercenarily buy stuff for flipping, because I find that I don't have a lot of fun doing that, because I don't like the stuff I'm picking up. So if I try to buy stuff I like, and then if it goes up in value, I try to like make sure that I can buy some that I can actually like, flip and play the game in Veve, because I don't want to keep putting money in. I want to like make money. Right. When I did my my toys, that's how I did with my vintage Star Wars toys. So I started small, buying, vintage Star Wars toys at the bulk level, beaters, like used beaters from people's from people's childhood collections. And they're just people who don't collect. They're just, oh, I got all these toys in my basement. What am I going to do? So I would buy those up. I would save all the good ones and put them together and construct them. And then I would sell off the bulk for profit, and then use that extra money to upgrade. And slowly over time, I managed to work my way up to bigger grails. And I'm employing the same exact strategy in Veve. I try to talk about it all the time, where, I'll stack certain ones I think are good. I'll keep a few. I'll try to sell off ones. Then I can get those gems and build my way up to the next level. And it's just a slow progression up to those big grails, because I don't want to drop 10K in the app, go buy AF-15 secret rare just with 10K. I'd rather work my way up to it over years. It's my kind of my fan. It's kind of like my, it's like a hobby, in a way.
Yeah.
To do it. And for me, it's more rewarding for me to do that. Like, I worked my way up in physical Star Wars toys from basically ground zero to like Boba Fett's first, which is worth about $20,000, just by literally buying and selling and flipping through eBay over time, just buying at the right times, buying in bulk at dollar cost averaging, and then slowly selling ones at profit and presenting them better when I sell them. So like, in regards to like, On eBay specific, because you have to take your own photos. So I would like
Right.
outmatch everyone else with my graphic design background. And so there's little advantages there. So you can't really do that in the Veve marketplace, but in the Veve verse,
It's game changer.
I know, right? So these are all things that I'm thinking about way ahead. Like if I can get into the Veve verse and have a better display and sell my stuff there, I don't know of how that's going to work. This is way down the road, but you know what I mean? Like I like
Yeah.
flipping my way up, but not like I'm not a flipper where I sell everything and buy everything and just flip like a mercenary. And that's totally fine. If people do that, that's great. But I like to get
Not your style.
the stuff I like,
Yeah.
and try to profit on that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I've
thanks.
lost a lot. These Lambos are killing me right now, man.
You stacking them?
No, I only bought 3, but I'm taking a hit on them in the last couple of days. Like
Yeah,
if
no.
anyone bought them day one, I'm like down a few hundred gems at least. And I love them. They look great. I didn't get the secret rare. I got the other 3, just one of each. And I'm just looking at them. And I'm like, oh, they're going down right now. It's weird, right? But the secret rare is going up. So
People preparing for March, I think, and all those drops.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we have to save gems.
I want to thank Shozen here for the super chat. He said, ignore this immature, impatient negativity. There's a chance of a lifetime to stack OMI and collectibles. Just hit 100 sets, shooting for 100 million OMI now. That's
oh my
big
God.
bag. Big bag of
Monster. A monster.
But speaking of like the investment side of it, I want to ask you a question about something that David, you recently said. I think it was on the Matt Gondak podcast, referring to early last year when the market was going nuts and prices were really, really high. And he said that, they increased their edition sizes in order to cool off the market, the secondary market, which a lot of people were kind of speculating on. And there was, I think Javier Torres talked about it. I talked about it a bit at the time. As someone who's, invested in Veve, does that give you any pause, or did that concern you at all, the fact that they could cool off the market?
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that. And I didn't know that that's what their strategy was. What he talked about was the trading card business and how the physical trading card business, doesn't want their cards to get any reference Pokemon and of course other sports cards. But I guess he referenced how they don't want their cards to get too crazy valuable, for all sorts of reasons, right? So they overprint to a certain degree to kind of cool it down, to bring the price down a bit, just to keep it in that range of where they want it to be, right? I think he was really referencing Pokemon and their strategies with that and how they produce a ton of cards. And I was like, okay, that was interesting back at the time. I'm still wrapping my head about the reason for that, because we know we had crazy bots back then just gobbling everything up. I didn't get a drop for 3 straight months back in those from Invisible. I've said this many times, from Invisible Woman to Toby, and Toby didn't sell out. That's the one I got. I didn't get anything for 3 months prior. Nothing, nothing. I got nothing during that time period, which was really frustrating for me. I thought I was locked out of the app, right? So we knew we had bots going crazy and half price gems and all these prices going sky high. And, the only thing about it that I take away from that is there's nothing we can do about it because it's already done. And I'm guaranteed I would have lost money back then, probably because of it, because I bought certain things, right? But at the same time, for me, I wasn't putting tons of money into the app because the prices were too high. So I wasn't able to go after some of the big stuff. I just physically wasn't able to do it, So in a way, I joined in October, so right before everything was all-time highing. So I bought some stuff then, and I was able to sell some stuff, at not totally at all-time highs, but I was able to kind of stay afloat when I didn't have a plan for a long time. And I guess during that time, once they saw prices going crazy, if they're upping the edition sizes as a way to cool the market, that just goes to show that, they can do whatever they want. And we have to just be really aware of that, if you're going to go into something, right? So on the flip side, and this, I just talked about this yesterday. And I think I talked about it the day before too, because I've been doing a lot of live streams lately because, there's so much to talk about, right?
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and thanks again for bringing me on, right? I mean, I can talk for 2 hours, so sorry, but I was talking about this yesterday, this time that we're in right now, think about this, right? with the lower amount of users that we have right now, and the bear market and the recession and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully this app will gain tons of like legit users over time. But during this time, they've lowered the edition sizes on everything. So they're doing the exact same thing right now, everybody. They're lowering edition sizes to raise value, right? And they could have done it even more on Lambo. I wish in some ways they cut the editions in half. I had the uncommon predicted at 1,963 editions because of what they do over on the NFT site, the Lambo site, right? So, and they came up with almost 3,000 editions. So they went higher, right? So I would have liked it to be a bit more scarce, but they're already doing it now in the other direction. So it shouldn't be a surprise to people because they did it then. They overdid it to bring the price down. Now they're underdoing it to bring the price up. And the only thing is when we came out of that overdoing the edition sizes of like before, now those collectibles are like down here in regards to value, right? These collectibles we're getting now, the ones with the scarce editions, and specifically these comic books that all super limited, and some of the ones that we got, the Spider-Man 2, that's even lower, like it was 7,500 of them.
Yeah.
Think about what happens when we have more users and they start to have to give us more editions again to, to appease that new, like those customers, right? Because they're not going to keep going super limited drops forever. Once we get like more users in here, they're going to have to increase the edition sizes again to match the demand. And so, this time that we're in right here with all these like really rare, like scarce drops, like RoboCop and like Daredevil and all of them, even the Disney one. There was the new Disney one that's coming out here. I saw, yeah. There's some 3D collectibles on that. So think about that. At some point in a year or two from now, the edition sizes are going to be right back up again, you'd think. So this time here, like these particular collectibles could be really interesting. Only the really great ones, like the Miles Morales and that kind of thing, like they're going to be so scarce compared to like what they're going to release in a year or two. If they're doing this, if they're legitimately controlling the edition size to affect the market, which, I don't really have a problem with it. But that's coming from the point of view of the opportunity in front of us now is good. But what they were doing before to cool it off, I can't say I like that, because I'd like to imagine if Vader was half the editions.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a lot nicer, right? Or Boba Fett. Like, I mean, God, I got my Boba Fett's over here. And then the last one they dropped before the KYC, and it just like, they just give us tons of editions. And he's like my, and so, yeah, but in any situation, you just got to roll with it. And, there's always opportunities in front of you, right? That's why I try to focus on when I hear that news, it made me immediately think about what's going on right now with the low edition sizes, because that's where my focus has to be. Not worrying about back in May when they were doing it and how that affected me. It's like, well, how can I get ahead right now then? If this is what, and now I know that. Wait till the next time when the edition sizes start to rise up, like in a year or two, like if the Veve verse is all good and everything's going good, then I'll know, okay, there may be too many editions on these ones right here, like for another cycle, like another up and down, you know what I mean? So it's just good information, right? So I don't know if that made sense.
No, total sense.
I was rambling a bit there.
Total sense. And speaking of Veveverse, they said that we'd get the first, the showrooms Q1. You think that's coming Q1? And what are you looking forward to about that?
I don't think it's coming. No, I'm realistic. I think there's going to be delays. And because this is the pattern that Veve's followed, right? And it doesn't like bother me. Like I don't get mad about it. But like in March, we're gonna get the Veveverse, exactly. We don't have MCP yet, So I mean, we do know now. At least we know now with Mitch in place. And if you've seen him and if you've talked to him, like I spoke to him once on the Twitter space. I just said hi, right? Because he was talking, but he doesn't take any shit, right? Like he's like, okay, I know this is what we're doing. And I can tell he doesn't take it from the team as well. Like, I think he's probably telling them, no guys, like we need to do this. Like this is what we're doing. You see how he tweets and you see how we respond.
Very efficient with like his word choice is like spot on. He's very efficient with how he speaks.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And I think that's good because I think they're just going all in on MCP right now. Like that's what they're doing. I mean, we saw how they gave us the plan of how they do these things first week they give a certain amount of access to people. I wasn't one of those people yet. So but they give like a next week they add more and then more. And then if they find bugs, they fix them. And then there's a delay. And I think there was like a bug or two they found like a few days ago. So, there's going to be, so like, I don't think we're getting the Veveverse in March, our home, but you never know. I mean, shit. I mean, it can happen. I mean, like, but I'm not holding my breath on it. I'm just going to react in the moment to what's going on, and try to just do the best I can with the information I have right now. And the only thing is that sometimes you get information after, and then it kind of affects you. Oh, I wish I knew that before. But I just think the MCP is all they're focused on. It's pretty clear. And I'm glad, because let's get that phase 1 out and get that, out of the way, and then get that, Veveverse new home room or whatever house, in place. And then we can go from there and there and there. Right. But at least with Mitch there, it looks like they got somebody who's just we're on a train track, we're just on a, it looks like now they have to fulfill though. They have to fulfill.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraging with Mitch on board. Like I agree with you. I like him. I like the way he speaks. He's very efficient with his words. He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. But you're correct. They have to start rolling things out, right? But you don't seem like you have a very long-term vision. And these delays, do they bother you, or like you're just cool, you're patient, you're just thinking long-term?
Well, I mean, it's not even that. It's like I can't control any of it. Like it's nothing I can do about it. So,
but does it affect your perception of Veve as like an investment in terms of like your confidence in their ability to accomplish their long-term goal?
I hear you for sure. Yeah, no, for me, I'm not worried about it in regards to like, affecting like whether I think this app's going to survive or not, or if it's, I am thinking further down the road for sure. And, in some ways, this time before, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually really like it. I actually really like it right now. I've liked it for 6 months. Ever since AF15's come out, I've really liked this app being not where it needs to be yet, because that means I have a chance to get some stuff I couldn't get, that all these other whales who were here way before me had that chance early on when this app was nothing. And there was nothing, like the app was like so like underbuilt, and so much speculation about whether it would even survive. Those people were stacking up, and they obviously, a lot of them benefited through the bull run and are still benefiting. Right. And so I'm quite happy if Veve is in a kind of a holding pattern with, low prices, and I'm saying that honestly, you guys, because, once this stuff kicks in, and if it kicks in and gets the attention that it deserves, things are going to be different. It's going to be tougher for me. I'm not a rich guy. Like I can't go and just be buying. Like you see some people, they're buying, I got my 17th Todd today because it went to like 900. I'm like, I can't do that. Right. So I have to unless I sell everything behind me, and I have stuff I don't, and which I'm selling, stuff, but it doesn't affect my, what affects, this is how I look at it. Okay. What affects my confidence in Veve is when the community gets pissed off at Veve because Veve's not communicating properly. That scares me, because the community is Veve. Like, we are Veve, everybody. It's not David, you and Dan and them. It's us. If we don't buy their stuff and we don't make these vids and we're not here, there is no project. They can sell whatever they want, but if they have no customers, they're done. So like when people get mad, and for legit reasons, not just being like the FUD and patient kind of like non-believers, like whatever. I'm talking about when like the good loyal customers are like, come on, man, like this is like pissing me off, and I've been here from the start, and I'm a patient person, or blah blah blah. When that starts to happen, then that's a major problem. That's happened a bit too much this fall, and so I try to also balance that with saying, well, bear market, recession, all that kind of stuff. Every project is down, all this kind of stuff. I've been in NFTs on OpenSea that are also way down, right? That I'd like to get back into as well. But that's the part that bothers me. Not so much that Veve is having delays. It's just their customers, right? So like I said, if you're going to rebrand, communicate better so you don't piss your customers off, right? Simple. If you have plans in place, make sure that you're communicating to a point But the deadline thing, you better make it if you're going to put it out there, because that pisses people off. So I think they're doing better now with Mitch in place. I think that's a very strategic, and we'll see if he comes through. I mean, he might flame out, and who knows, maybe it goes nowhere, and maybe, but at least we know, I can see that there's the structure in place that this app needs to go to the next level, right? And it's been 2022 is we got KYC, we got payout, which was good, right?
IMX migration.
Yeah, we got yeah, exactly. We got like, they're progressing, we're moving forward. And so this first quarter, though, is going to be really interesting. And in the meantime, in the background, while people are having doubts, I'm trying to buy another AF-15 or something, or like, you know what I mean, at a low price if I can, or maybe another Miles, or maybe like one of these new comics.
Yeah.
And just trying to take advantage of the moment we're in. And hopefully it pays out. Otherwise, I got some really cool stuff on my phone that isn't worth anything. But at least it's cool, right?
Yeah, we got a little under.
What do you think, man? What do you think? Because you're asking me, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that when you set timelines and you consistently don't meet them, it's a bad look. And I think that's part of it, is that they bit off a bit more than they could chew early on. Like, this stuff was promised, I think, 2021, right? MCP. They even said Veveverse 2021. And they didn't have the team to build this stuff out at the time. And so they set themselves up, I think, with their communication for disappointment in the community. And the community is so passionate and tuned into everything that they're going to call you out on it.
Oh,
and then it's also, we're so connected to each other every day and to our phones that every day seems like a month. Yeah. So it's kind of like the time we live in. I'm hopeful that they can, now that they've built out their dev team, they've got Mitch, that they can turn things around. And sentiment changes fast, So like you said, when sentiment is down, it's a time to double down if you're long-term convicted in a project.
Yeah, you think so. And I need to see, I'd like to see more growth, though, with user base. Mm-hmm. And that's that's really tough for them, because people like me don't care about interoperability. Like me, just me, like, it's just, right. I'll just say me in person, just me, myself. I don't care if this stuff doesn't go off the app. I mean, like, I know there's some scariness about if the app goes down. FTX freaked us all out, right? And all that stuff. But I like the Veve marketplace. I don't mind my stuff being there and selling and buying on there, and trading. I want trading to come. Yeah. And I don't mind and I don't mind them allowing, once we get our Veveverse, having other NFTs come in. And then I really looking forward to the time when they choose a different place that we can put our stuff on, that they're secure with, like a place like eBay that's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And so, like, for, to be able to sell there or whatever. And so, like, I'm okay with that right now. And I know that, like, as a collector, a physical collector, the NFT side of it, like the blockchain and all that, and the diving deep into these wallets and stuff, none of that stuff doesn't totally interest me that much on a day-to-day. Like, I know it interests a lot of people, and that's great, because that's the audience, right? That's the audience that Veve has. And so the challenge is, like, if you market to those people and get them into the app, then they want what those people want. They want the crypto experience, right? Which is, interoperability, decentralization, full ownership and control and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is great. That's for crypto, that's great. But if you want to be like you want to go after the collectors, people like me who don't know anything about that kind of stuff, like I know now, but like I'm talking about people who are out of the app, they don't know anything about that stuff. That stuff scares the shit out of them and makes them not want to come here. So, I mean, it's kind of a weird place to be, right?
And I think they kind of have that identity crisis, right? Is it a collector's app, an investor's app, crypto, NFTs, Web 2, Web 3? And, I think that they do need to appeal to everyone. And that does, eventually lead to interoperability for those who want it. And I think that they'll never fully gain that. And not that they need the wider NFT space, but they'll never really get those true Web 3 heads.
Yeah, I don't think so. And you know what? And that's fine by me with this particular project and this particular company with these IPs. Remember, the big brands too, they want control too, right? to some
Yeah.
degree. So, and
100%.
that's just the reality of owning a Spider-Man. You know what I mean? It's just the reality of it, right? I mean, I think, right? So, but you know, like in 2 years from now, I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but I think the idea is you build this beautiful platform that attracts people on both sides and give people what they need, you know, and try to figure out some sort of balance. It's not going to be for everybody, but you can't go too crazy crypto. You can't go all in collector, like centralized. It won't work. So you have to, and it looks like they're building blocks of what they're thinking. It looks like they have a good plan in place, at least from what I can kind of tell, but you know, they have to fulfill these first steps here. And I think they will. I'm confident in it. Otherwise I wouldn't be here anymore. Right. But
Yeah.
you know, we'll see how long other people are confident in it. Right.
Yeah. You got to get going.
I got a few more minutes. This is fun. my kids, I got to pick up my kids from school. It's actually snowing like crazy here. So I was trying to give myself more time, but it looks like the roads are okay. I checked right before we got on, but yeah, I can hang out for a bit longer. I got a couple Snickers, unless you want to kick me out of here.
No, man, let's hang out. Let's do it.
Get out of here, Mike. Collectibles. I don't like anything you're saying at all. We got to talk about your Ninja Turtles behind you right there.
No, I don't have Ninja Turtles.
Oh, aren't they on the left?
This guy
no.
or
on your left, up there. Oh, okay. I thought those were. I thought those dudes I can't see.
These guys are wrestling figures up top.
They're wrestling. Yeah, it's this. I thought they were. You know the Shredder's soldiers,
Road Warriors from back.
Oh yeah, the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. Road Warriors. You know these guys Legion of Doom? No.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
March is supposed to be. They've been hyping up March a bit. What are you looking forward to? Like, what drops do you want to see?
Yeah.
I personally like the nostalgic stuff, so I love to see RoboCop drop. I'm looking forward to Rambo because that's the stuff that I grew up with. What are you looking forward to? Yeah, hell yeah, Rambo.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Mandalorian, which they're going to give us something, and because that's March 1st. I'm looking for Hulk #1 because that facsimile is hitting the comic book stores right now, and all the facsimiles are showing up here, guys. Fantastic Four 52 showed up. This one right over here, right there, showed up at the store comic shop. Boom, it's in Veve. And also the DC NFT ones, same thing. They're all ending up. All these facsimiles are ending up in the app. So, and also somebody in my live stream pointed out Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is the Punisher's first appearance. That one's also facsimile is also coming out, and so is X-Men 1. Okay, that one's coming out. Wow. Facsimile. And what was it? There's two more that are at that level. There's was it X-Men 1 and Avengers 1? I think those two are facsimiles coming out in March. So those are the ones I'm looking forward to. And yeah, Rambo would be super cool depending on how they do it. I mean, if his likeness is like Stallone, it's got to be Stallone's. You got to give us 3, and you got to give us like, you know, the first. You got to give us the first one, you know, like just Rambo, First Blood, right? You got to give us First Blood, his army jacket. You know, that was filmed in Hope, British Columbia, which is not that far from where I live, and it looks the same there. If you go to that small town, yeah, with Jonathan Denny, the local cop. That's right. He's driving through in the street. Yeah. I swear to God, they made some upgrades. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it's very similar. It's really spooky. So that, and then you give us Rambo 2. Then you got to give us, you know, with the machine guns, you know, and with the bullets all over them. With, you know, so that'd be fun. So yeah, I mean, I want the Star Wars stuff though. I want the Mandalorian. I want this guy and Grogu over here. I want Grogu, you know, and we'll see what they give us. I hope they give us something like that. You know, and not just like some random character. I want this. I want to put him up against Boba Fett in the app. Of course, he'll be like a quarter of the edition size because of the time we're in, right? Yeah. So he'll be worth a lot. And Grogu, if Grogu comes, Grogu would be sick. Yeah. What do you think? Right? You think? I think so. What would you think? What do you think of in terms of sports? What they're going to do? Because that's another vertical that they're looking to get into, and I haven't seen too much success of other platforms. I mean, NBA Top Shot was successful at first, but like Autograph, I don't think really did much. Topps has an NFT marketplace. I don't think does much. What do you think they'll do with sports? What types of collectibles do you think that they drop?
Or
Oh,
what would you want out of it?
yeah, I'm not sure. Just with your comment with Iron Man, that's the other number one I was thinking. Sorry, Maznak there.
Yeah.
He said Iron Man. So it's Iron Man 1 and I think X-Men 1 are the two facsimiles, I believe. So yeah, it's not Avengers 1, I think. So yeah, thanks, Maznak, because he said Iron Man. That was the other number one I was trying to remember. But yeah, sports, man, like, oh God, I don't know. Like, I really don't know, because you're right. I bought a Gretzky puck over on Autograph, like a Wayne Gretzky, like I bought, and they're beautiful. Hey,
How
like
does it hold?
just,
How is it held up?
oh, it's not worth much of anything. I mean,
Mhm.
it really never was from the start. It didn't even really sell out right away or anything like that. But it's so gorgeous, the way it opens up and animates. It's like this puck, and it's got this assist leader, and it's like broken glass on there, and super cool. And then yeah, NBA Top Shots had its like ups and downs for sure. I'm looking at a new project. It's more of a fantasy league. It's called So Rare, and it's NBA, and it's also Major League Baseball, and also like Premier League, like football and everything, with all the top players. And you get like these, like with Ethereum, you can buy like these NFT cards, and then you use them in a fantasy like every week. You try to upgrade your cards, and you get like you get to play like if you're in fantasy sports. So if that kind of thing is interesting, because it involves actually like the massive world of fantasy, like fantasy betting, right? And gaming and all that, where you like, you put your team, if you've been in fantasy pro leagues, right? Like basketball or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like it's super fun. It's engaged every week. You're flipping your teams out and changing your players and blah, blah, blah. And So Rare is a site that I just started to like look at, and I've got an account, and I've mentioned it in a few of my live streams. I've shown a little bit. I've collected some players. So if you're going to bring sports to, Veve, I mean, I don't know how that works, man. I don't know, because what are you going to do?
What do you
Yeah,
think?
like physical, so is it just the athlete? So if they partner up with, like, let's say they partner up with the NBA, just the Players Association, then they can't show the logos, right? And I want the logos. Nobody wants LeBron James with like a yellow jersey with no Laker logo on it. So that won't work too well, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you get, I don't know. Okay. I might back up a bit. If you bring like, the NBA top athletes here, and you give them like a likeness, maybe you do it up where they're wearing like whatever brand that they're associated with. I don't know. I mean, there's so much, like even the Air Jordans on Miles Morales aren't real, but they pump him up, So if they can get like the actual brands, then you're talking. And if you did like 3D athletes in outfits, that would be pretty amazing. Imagine like Neymar, and he's like in his like whatever he sponsored, like Adidas jacket,
Driving on the floor.
Yeah, that's right. Rolling around, grabbing his leg. You're a hockey fan, I can tell. No, a football fan then for sure. No, but yeah, man, I don't know. It's tough. If that So Rare thing is gamified it to and attach it to fantasy, and they have it all built into their website. That seems really like a smart way to go, because it keeps people engaged and it keeps you upgrading your stuff. It's a different platform, so I don't think Veve could do that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Speaking of engagement, like how would you like to see them engage people more, either in the app or in the Veveverse? Like, what you looking for? Gamification? What are you looking for in that in regards to that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Like, what would I want? I think, I think, like, I think the master collector is going to be all the engagement that we're going to really going to need, because it's going to give us a chance to like build on stuff and go after stuff. And, if they have the burning mechanic in there, we're able to trade stuff in for more stuff. I think that engagement's going to be huge. I think it's sorely lacking, because right now we're just getting the collectibles and just looking at them. And of course they give us some like airdrops here and there, and, collect all these, get one of these type of stuff like that. But, once we're able to actually like, have that master collector program in place, and then the OMI utility program as well, right? I mean, these are their ways of doing it. And so I think as long as they do that, I'm good. In the meantime, rewarding people who have been holding sets, that's really cool too. But I don't want it just to be the OGs. I mean, That
Yeah.
was nice that they gave Lambos to original like Omi holders and stuff, but that's great. But like, you want some, like, you want to get some new people in here, right? So do some stuff like to engage new users, give some people who have legit accounts, a chance to also be involved in that. Like I would like raffles and things like that. That would be great, where we could win things, you just enter, maybe enter 5 gems and you could win a Todd or something like that. I would love stuff like that, right? And then they could take those profits and they maybe can do some like, they could do some like charitable work and stuff like that. Like those kind of ways are really good ways to engage the community, reward people, do some good stuff and get some good press out of it. Stuff like that I think could go really well. I mean, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, I think, but yeah, that's probably all I got. They probably they got at least 1 or 2 people working on that.
Yeah.
At least 1, right?
Do you think we'll get real utility one day? Like Dan said once, I know that the utility is in owning the collectible, and that's like all the utility that you need. It's owning it, displaying it. They come with, but that's the utility.
Yeah.
But the NFTs have so much potential in terms of unlocking utility and, like you said, rewarding people. Do you think we'll get added utility?
I hope so on certain things, not everything, right? But like those golden moments, that first, series of those little 2 sets. I know that that's the worst thing that came out of the recent, not the worst thing, but that's one of the things that I didn't like hearing so much when David Yu's most recent interviews was, and Alex G was in there too on Twitter Spaces after, talking a bit about how, Disney and them don't really like doing utility stuff. And I was really hoping those golden moments would get like some sort of utility. Like if you own those first sets, like say you own the Simpsons set, or say you own a Partners and it gets you like something. Now, they said that the IPs aren't interested in doing that stuff as much, like the Disney, Disney and Marvel and all them. But that doesn't mean Veve can't do it themselves, right? Veve can do their own utility with these things within the app. So this gets back to what I was saying before about like these kind of things, right? Without having to get like a partner statue gets you access to Disneyland or something like that. This is the kind of thing that we've all sort of been looking for, right? Is like, specifically with those golden moments. So, I like, yeah, Veve can like, if the IPs and the companies aren't going to really be doing anything with that, then Veve, Veve should do that. They should at least add it, and not just like a own 5 and get an airdrop, they should like, add a little bit of extra layers to a couple of them. The more famous ones, like why doesn't Todd have anything going on? Like Todd is the first, like Todd should be, should have something. I mean, I don't know what, but you'd think like the very first NFT they ever drop on the app, why doesn't Todd give you like, I don't know, access to something, and maybe it will.
The set holders early access to the blues, right? Or guaranteed access.
Yeah. That's like that's that you chance to buy, right. Or whatever it was that. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I'd like to see, more fun stuff, and they're going to have to rack their brains about it. I guess the community, we can all come up with ideas and keep shooting them their way and see what they do, but, I made a video almost, oh God, like, I guess it's April, right? Where I was like saying, oh, I'm thinking like I have to go back and rewatch it. It was like 4 or 5 things, in a year from now, I think Veve will have. And that was it. Like it was 8 or 9 months ago. And one of them was the golden moments having some utility eventually, like, and I don't know if that's going to happen. So it's just a guess. Right. But yeah, we'll see. I do have to go now though, man. I'm up against it with going to pick up my kids, but
well, good.
Oh, you got to.
I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you and talking to you. It was great meeting you up in Decon. You're going to go back in end of the year, Anaheim?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully it's not like right by Christmas. I think it's supposed to be in December. So
mid-December, I think like December 14th, around that time.
Yeah, if it might not be possible for me if it's at that time, depending on it. But November was great for me. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm definitely going to try to go. It was so fun. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So. But thanks, man. I appreciate you. I'll be watching, and yeah, I'll have you come on my channel too if you want. We'll chat. Yeah. We'll continue the conversation because I feel we could talk for another 6 or 7 hours.
Easily. Thanks again, brother. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Appreciate you all. Catch you next time.